Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar on streamlining collaboration for plant projects in this. This webinar is actually divided into two series, and today is the part first of that collaboration series, which we are handling for manufacturing customers in this case. My name is Preeti Rao, and I'm a senior technical specialist. I work for the AEC vertical, and I specialize in plant and structures. Today's session would be more about interactive session where we'll be talking about, how do we effectively collaborate, communicate, and coordinate on our planned projects in this case. To start up with, there's a safe harbor slide which you're currently seeing on the screen, and please take a note of it as it's important for our today's presentation. Meanwhile, this is a slide on all our upcoming webinars which are therein, few of which has been already completed, and a few of them which has been highlighted in blue are the next upcoming session. So do make it a point to register for these upcoming webinar series which is there in this case. Now, while you're taking a note on the upcoming webinar series, there might be a question which would be coming down on your screen. Do make it a point to reply to that particular question. Let's just wait for a second or so that we collect all the responses and we could move ahead with our presentation. Thanks for voting, and so let's move ahead with our presentation in this case. Now, today's session, as I said, is about collaboration and coordination. So we'll be talking about a tool called as a BIM 360. And as it is, it's a set of set of series which is there. So today I'm going to speak about the BIM 360 docs workflow, which is a part of BIM 360 design coordination piece which is there. And the session will be divided into partly presentation and partly live session. And in case if you want to participate in the BIM 360 live session, please push down your email IDs in the chat window in this case, and we will add you guys into our live BIM 360 project, and we could do some live streamlining, collaboration, and coordination in this case. Now, while you're pushing on all your details on the chart window, I'll push more details on what does BIM 360. So when I talk about BIM 360, BIM 360 is basically the name of the tool which we are trying to present today. And as it says BIM is not necessarily only for buildings, as I mentioned. It could be for any kind of assets which are there, and it could be a transmission tower projects, it could be oil and gas project which is there, and it could be something like a power plant which is there. Now all these kind of projects which are there goes through a lot of documentation, and these documentation could be in the form of process flow diagrams, it could be in the form of PNID diagrams in this case basically. It could be in the form of structural design drawings which are there in. Basically, it could be a general layout of that particular plant which is there in. It could be equipment related models, etc. So these are all different kinds of documents, and it is not only design and drawing documents in this case. There are also documentations on which are in the form of spec sheets, which are there, and which are in the form of catalogs, which are in the form of Excel documents, Microsoft Word documents, which are there in PowerPoint, Excel sheet, etc. So any kind of document could be published on this particular portal on the cloud. And while you're publishing these documentation, it acts as a common data environment in this case. So you do not use AutoCAD on your construction site, on your plant site, to just visualize these kind of documents basically. And this particular workflow, it comes with something called as a mobile access. So if you're currently using any of the smartphones, basically you could download the app called as the BIM 360 app, which is therein. And the BIM 360 apps allows you to visualize the documentation anywhere, anytime, and on any device in this case, basically. And all these documentation, while you publish it on the portal, it allows you to do markups on your documents, markups on your drawings in this case. It allows you to communicate and collaborate via the issue creation and issue management methods which are there, and where instead of using your Outlook, WhatsApp phones or phone calls for communicating between each other, you could utilize the same platform for creation of your comments and issues which happens on that particular project. And the assigned email ID would be automatically notified of that particular issue on the project which is there. Now, when I talk about 2D and 3D support, the cloud piece or the portal which is there, it allows you to visualize any kind of document. So you do not need a PDF viewer to visualize a PDF document, or a DWG viewer, or a full version AutoCAD to visualize the 2D documentation. Or in case it could be inventor models, it could be plant models which could be there, and where you did not need tools like inventor and plant to visualize this kind of information which is there in basically. And what you could do is like, if your task is to just comment, just review that information, just visualize that information, then you could take in the advantage of the BIM 360 piece in this case. The other piece is, while you're doing all these tasks on the cloud, in case if it is an intelligent 3D model coming in from Inventor, or coming in from a Plant 3D, or any third-party application which is external to Autodesk, that could be bought in on the top of the BIM 360 platform, and you could visualize the properties of that particular equipment, properties of that information which you might have embedded while creating your design models in this case. The next important highlight would be talking about our design documents preferably moves through a lot of iterations in this case, and these iterations might lead to a lot of versioning on our documents in this case. When I say versioning, there could be while it is getting iteratively designed, it could go into many of the versioning aspects which are there in basically. And these versioning information could be captured on the cloud piece basically. And apart from that, it currently we are all sitting online and collaborating basically. So we also have a digital approval system which could be maintained and performed on the cloud using BIM 360, which is there in this case basically. So what we will do in, after this particular slide is, we will try to go live on BIM 360. We will see how you could collaborate effectively on the cloud in this case. Now, before we go to the live session, and while I'm setting up everything for the live session, if anybody is interested in participating in the live session, do make it a point to share your email IDs in the chat window over here, and we will try to add you into this particular portal basically. So we have got one of the email IDs. Please feel free to push down your email IDs in the chat window in this case. I'll wait for a while, and meanwhile, while we are going live, you would see one more question coming down on your screen. Do make it a point to answer that. And meanwhile, I'll push on all these email IDs into the portal. So let me add, and the people who I'm getting added to this particular portal, uh, you would receive an email from me, and I'll show you how to notify that. So I'm adding the first one, that is Vijay Gopal, and I believe, let me add him to, I'll just create a company afterwards. And Vijay, if you can mention your, I'll push you into a category called as designer, and that's Vijay Gopal. And let me see who the next one is. Okay, so I've got Rakesh. Let me add Rakesh to this piece. I could add multiple email IDs at once, but as people are posting it quite slowly, so what I could do is like, yeah, I'm just pushing it as to a default organization, and let me post you as a designer in this case. So thanks, Rakesh. Let me add one more person. If anybody are more interested in volunteering, please add your email IDs. So guys, whoever I've added into the portal, I believe you're able to see your names over here in, and let me shoot out a mail to you guys while you're posting all your details. Yeah, you won't receive a mail right now. I'll tell you when you need to check your mails. Just give me a while. So I have added the respective teammates. But getting two more, I will stop it right now. So I've added few more of it to the list. Hey, thanks guys for volunteering. Just give me a while I drop you guys a mail, and just give me a minute. And here is the designer. So currently you could choose any of your default roles, but as I do not know you guys personally, I'm currently choosing you all as a designer. Make it a point that you know you add you log into the system, and also download an app on your phone as well, which is called as the BIM 360 app. Okay, and now as I've added you to the BIM 360 portal, let me also call into the project, and then we could start live logging in. Vijay Gopal, Rakesh, then I've got Naveen who's there in. So I believe I forgot to add Vijay Raghavan's details. Okay, so So currently what I'm trying to do is like, I'll give you the admin access and I'll give you access to the document management portal. And what you could do is like, we could just do the document management and the insight today. And in the next session, if you guys are attending, make a point to get yourself added to the design collaboration piece as well. So I've added 2 of you, and let me add more members. So all of you might have received an email already. So please make it a point to register yourself and get in logged in into this particular project. So that's Naveen, Vijay Kumar, PK, Rakesh Fikre. I believe I've added everybody, and there's only one person who's remaining, that is Vijay Raghavan. Let me add him into the portal as well, and then we could move ahead. Just drop down a yes if you guys have received an email from the BIM 360 portal, so that I could understand that whether you have received an alert for joining this particular project. Wherever you have typed your email IDs, just push a yes so that I understand that you guys are already added to the project, please. Rakesh, you have been added to the project. Yeah, so I believe every one of you guys have received the email, and whoever is there on this particular project might have received an email. Now it is asking you for logging in. So what I will do is like, let me sign out the first time, and I'll try to log in into the portal. So how do you log in? So in case if you have received the email, you could directly click here to log in. And what you could do is like, once you click on that particular link, it will take you to a page called as b2.autodesk.com, which is there in this. Now, for example, if this is your first time logging into BIM 360, make it a point to create an account basically. And use the same email ID which you have pushed in the questions window. So it's just a 2 minutes process. Just go to create account process if you are logging in for the first time on the BIM 360 portal. If you have already got access to BIM 360, then you could just sign in. But if you're trying to log in for the first time, push on the same email ID which you have pushed in the chat window, create a password for you, push your first and the last name details. There will be a two, kind of dual authentication which would be sent to you. Agree to those terms and conditions. Now, in case if you're using your official email ID, there might be a lot of spam filters which are therein. So it might happen that the BIM 360 emails might go to your junk box. So make it a point that you treat that emails as safe, and bring it to your main inbox stream which is there. So this is only for people who are trying to create the account for the first time basically. Now in case, as I saw when I asked you the question, what portal do you already use it, then somebody mentioned it as BIM 360. So if you've already got account on BIM 360, just sign in as I am trying to do it, and push your username, email, and password, and get access to this particular portal which is there. There are a lot of email IDs which came at the last, so we could get them added later on at the end of the session, preferably. What I could do is like, let's not waste our time into adding more details. People who have got access, please get into the portal. So, for example, if you are getting into the BIM 360 project right now, and you also have got access to other BIM 360 account, for this is only for those users. Make it a point, because currently you're getting added to my project hub. So see to it that you go over here and change the account. This is only for users who have got access to other BIM 360 projects. Please note that. And here you could just say change the account. You could select something called as Preeti underscore Autodesk. That is the hub which you guys have been added, and make it a point that you directly go into a project called as the plant project, where I have added you as a team basically. Yeah. So this is how you will be able to see. And so people who have been added into the system, your details are already there in over here, and you automatically have got access to this particular page. And I'll talk about the next workflows which you could handle on BIM 360 in this case, basically. Yeah. Now, while we are going on BIM 360, this is basically the project admin page. I could have added all you users as a project member, but I wanted to give you complete control. That's the reason I have also given you the access as a project admin to this particular test plant project, which is there. And currently you could see that I've given access to only 3 pieces of the tools which are there. One is the project admin, one is the insight page, and one is the document management piece which is there. So how do you go through the document management piece? Let's go through a very important workflow. So just if people are trying to access it on their machine, see to it that you come towards the 9 dots which are near the project admin, and click on something called as document management. Yeah. So once you click on document management, you get the portal of BIM 360 docs in this case. Yeah. And the webinar said BIM 360 design. Docs is a very important piece of BIM 360 design, basically. So we are talking about the half of the workflow today, that is BIM 360 docs in this case. And when you come on this portal, people who have been added to this particular piece of the project, what you could do is like, here, if you see, it's been divided into 2 folders. One is the plant files and one is the project files. If it is related to any documentation pertaining to drawings, pertaining to PDF documents on drawings, design models, etc., make it a point to get upload your documents over here. And now this portal is open, so people who've been added to this particular project, what you could do is like, you could create your respective folders and subfolders. Like I can add a subfolder and you can upload your piece of the model or project over here. So for example, there is somebody from BARIL. So I will add that particular folder. So what you could do is like, you could create your respective folders and subfolders and upload your files over here. And basically, when I say upload your files, it could be any kind of documentation. BIM 360 supports more than 150 file formats which are there in basically. So currently, I'm taking a very, very basic design drawing document, which is a DWG file in this case. So either I could drag and drop. That's one way of doing it. The other way is you push the upload button on the portal. And we also have a second method of collaborating directly from Revit or AutoCAD Plant 3D, which I'll talk in the next session in this case. So today we'll go with the basic workflow and see that you upload a file as I have done in this case, and you go on uploading this particular piece of information on the portal which is there. Now, while it is uploading this piece of information on the portal, also see to it that this information which gets uploaded, it's basically a cloud portal, and try to push on some sample documents on the cloud. Feel free to upload any documents which are there, and we could see who are uploading these kind of files. And The other part is, you could push inventors IPT IM files, you could push IFC files, you could push RPT documents, PDF documents which are there in basically, or any other file formats which you want to push on the cloud which is there. And in case if you've got certain documents which are in the Word or the Excel format, make it a point to upload in the project files. I'll tell you where to upload Word and Excel. So for example, I can come on the portal over here in, and what I'm doing right now is like I've just opened the other instance of BIM 360. While this file is getting uploaded, let me come down to the same portal of BIM 360. And in the project file, so if you've got spec sheets, if you've got Word documents, catalogs of that particular plant, etc., here you could create again subfolders and folders in this category. So I'm currently pushing into names like Excel sheets, it could be Word documents, yeah. And what you could do is like you could push your files over here in. So if you want to push a sample Excel Word file, do make it a point to upload over here. For example, I'm trying to upload one more of a document over here, and it could be a photograph, for example. So I've just uploaded one PNG file. Meanwhile, I'll also upload, let me take a sample a Word document in order to work on a workflow. Let me go to my desktop. I've got sample, files. So I'll take a simple Word document, or let me check if I can upload it from here. And I've got a sample Word document which I can push. Something like a bolt length calculation document. So I uploaded all these documents on the cloud, and you could see that it is getting uploaded right now. And currently you see a document file being uploaded. Meanwhile, our drawing documents are also getting uploaded on the cloud basically. So while it is getting uploaded, what I could do is like I'll open one more instance and show you how you could collaborate on the cloud. So as I said, it could be any documentation on the cloud. You could push all the formats. The portal is open. Try to push on any documents you want to upload on the cloud. And I could see that people are trying to create their own folders, subfolders, and upload it on the cloud. So currently I have uploaded a sample DWG file, which is there in over here. It could be also models like this. For example, let me go to the first document, that is a plant model. And usually a plant model is quite big, so you could upload that on the cloud as well. I'll just show you one sample model. Yeah, so that's a sample plant model which is there in. And when you are modeling a plant, in this case it comprises of things like equipments, it comprises of line item, plant primary lines which are there in basically, which comprises of spec details about this particular pipe, what kind of tea you're trying to use in, what's the size of that pipe, what catalog does it belong to. Now, all these properties of the plant element could be seen, like if you click that particular element, if it's an intelligent 3D model, you could come down to the properties and get it added over here. Yeah, and as it is a plant piece, what you could see is like the matching OD which is there in whatever you have filled in that 3D model. So as it is a plant model, you could see that what is the type of end type, what is the nominal diameter, the size of that particular pipe, what spec does it belong to, what's a long description, the coordinates of that particular pipe, the length of that particular pipe, etc. So all these things could be visualized on the cloud. And the beauty is it is working on the top of an internet browser, and it also has got an app which can help you to see the same properties of that particular DWG model which is there in basically. Let me see, there are some questions which are getting popped up while we are presenting, and let me see what those questions. Okay, So I will get those information questions answered at the end of the session, basically. And now, for example, this is a manufacturing. This is a plant model in this case. Again, if you are into manufacturing of heaters, boilers, any kind of equipments which you try to do in, basically, this is a tool which helps you to collaborate on the project site which is there in, basically. And the other piece is like every information is transparent in this case. If it is a dwg file, you could see the layer management piece. You could see the model browser properties of that element. You could play with and hide those elements, basically. So every details of that particular equipment or the pipeline item which is there in the model could be seen over here, basically. So that's on a plant piece, basically. But while we're uploading different kinds of documents on the cloud, what we also doing is like we also track the history of that document. For example, the design processes are quite iterative in this case. And while we are doing these design processes, and while these processes are moving through a lot of changes in our document, definitely our model gets updated in this case. So what we could also do in is like we could do something like a version comparison. And what do I mean by version comparison? It could be a comparison between a plain the 2D file. It could be comparison with a plain PDF document which is therein. It could be comparison between any kind of models which are there in, basically. So what you could do is like if you have two versions of that particular model, the cloud always treats the last version as the latest version, basically. And many times it happens that we have got plenty of dwgs files of that same particular model on the desktop portal, and we do not realize which one is the right file, basically. So on the top of the cloud, you need not worry about those things. The cloud always treats the last version as the latest version in this case. And what I can do is like there's a small button at the bottom which says compare. And if you click that particular arrow, it shows you the comparison aspect. So I'm comparing two versions of that particular drawing, and I could do these comparison in this case. While I'm running this particular piece of comparison, what it will show is like what's been added, what's been modified, and what's been deleted. Now you could see that all the other items are grayed out except my structural elements, which has been added newly as a part of has been removed as a part of my version 2 of the document which is there in, basically. So these kind of information can be directly compared. So a team lead does need not go through the whole document and see if it's been updated or not. You could just go onto that portal, do a quick version comparison, check out whether those changes have been updated into that particular project or not, basically. Yeah. And so that's seeing the document changes which are there, basically. Now what I will do is like I will show you some more details. Like plant industry also goes with documents like your PNID diagrams which are there. So we have a lot of PNID diagrams which we try to follow in, which it could be in a form of PDF, it could be in a form of 3D models. So for example, a plain 2D documentation of a PNID workflow like this. Again, as I said, that as you're uploading the process diagram the second time, it takes into consideration the version of that particular document which is therein. I could simply perform a version comparison on this particular plain PDF document or a DWG file as it is. And what it does is like it clearly tells you what those changes are, basically. And whatever you see in blue are nothing but information which was not a part of the version 1 of the document. What you could do is like you could also use a slider. If you see on the left hand side, you would see V2 version. On the right hand side, you see version V1. And while I move my splitter, you could see that what elements have been added as a part of version 1 and what elements were not a part of the version 2 on your PDF documents. So that's the other way of comparing it in this case. After comparison, what could you do with those PNID diagrams? Let's go to something like if you're into the manufacturing industry, you have got something like your IPT, IAM files which are there basically. So for example, I go with a sample inventor file in this case, for example. Yeah. So it could be any documents, it could be any file formats which could be visualized on the cloud. And as I said, you could also visualize the properties of that particular element in this case and get into more details basically. Now, while we are doing this, let me come back to the plant model which I was referring. What could you do with that basically? So let's assume that first thing is the reviewing of the documents, and we already saw that we could review these documents on the cloud. Now these models, as I said, it could be also seen on the mobile app. You could also do things like quick measurements if you are a team leader, and if you want to measure in your project, you could see this. So for example, you want to do a quick measurement of that particular pipe element which is there, and so that measurements could be taken care of over here. You could do things like quick markups. For example, I can come to my markup tab which you see on the left hand side. I know people are trying to follow me. The portal is open, so you could use the portal as I've given the access to you. And what you could do is, like, for example, we designers or design heads have a habit of doing markups like cloud. So, for example, I want to create a quick markup, and what I want to do is, like, I want to add a text to it. So I say that this particular equipment needs to be rechecked. Yeah. So I've added this comment, and I'll just save this markup. Now every markup which you save in currently, as if I go to this particular markup, you people who are trying to access the same model on the crowd will not be able to see this markup, because the markups are either private or either public in this case. So make it a point that you make that particular markup as public, so that you are able to see that particular markup on your model in this case basically. So if there are a lot of markups over here, you could see what markups are published, what markups are private. For example, the markup which I just created few minutes back basically. So this markup could be published so that everyone who is a part of my project can visualize this particular piece of markup which is there. Now, this markup is for a wider set of audiences basically. Now let's assume that this markup can be accessed by all. What you could do is, like, now equipment needs to be rechecked. I pushed a comment. So for example, what you could do is, like, if you are having photographs, like I uploaded some photographs over here, and I've got my equipment details over here, and so you could even attach documents to it. For example, I quickly attached a document which was lying on the portal for me, and you could see what document I have attached. For example, it could be anything. This is just a inventor file. It could be a picture of that particular piece of the site. For example, I want to attach something on the side piece of it, so I could go on attaching those kind of files which are there. So I'll just go to quick attachments, come over here, and for example, I also uploaded a image file in this case basically. Let me see where that particular piece of the file is lying. And for example, a quick PNG file which I uploaded. Yeah. So all the two attachments which are being connected to that particular element could be seen over here. And you could click that PNG file and attach. I've just taken a sample image as an example, and you could visualize that on that particular same model which is there. Let me come down to that particular piece of model which I was talking about. Now there might be questions that, markup is one thing which is there, and you could do quick measurements, etc. And we saw markups how we could attach documents and drawings to it basically. And the beauty is, whoever creates a markup, it has been assigned to this particular project. The other piece of communicating, as we are talking about collaboration and communication, what you could also do is, like, create an issue. Now, for example, I'm trying to create an issue over here, and I will say that, I will send it to the equipment manufacturer. Okay. Now, what I will do is, like, I will assign it to some people who are a part of these projects. Can somebody raise hands who have already started accessing this particular project? Whoever has got access, so I will assign it to that particular team member. Or what I could do is like I will assign it to everybody who belongs to the company called as ABC. Yeah, so I've added it to you. You might receive a notification, and I will say that you need to respond to that particular comment or that issue right now. And I will also push the location details, like for example, this equipment is located on the west side of my plant. Yeah, and I'm the owner. Now the most important thing is tagging that particular issue, because at the end of the project you need to understand how many issues are related to design coordination, how many issues are related to commissioning, installation of that particular product. Some might be related to code compliance, which is there in, so that this particular equipment is not getting tagged to a code compliance standards, etc., which is there. So I'm just tagging it right now. Need more details of the equipment. And let's assume that this ABC group who have assigned this particular issue is a manufacturing company, and they need to give me more equipment specs basically. So need more details of the equipment, and I'll create this. So now I have tagged this particular issue, and whoever has been added to a project, like everyone who has got access to this project and who belongs to the company called as ABC, can comment on this issue. And you guys might also have received an email in your inbox. And how do you comment on this? Come to that particular issue, come to activity, and push your comments over here. And let me see if anybody who's accessing it live want to comment on this. For example, how do you comment? If I want to assign it to somebody called as Naveen Kumar, please comment, for example. I don't know whether he is doing it live, and he could come down and comment on this particular issue. Make it a point that you come down to this particular issue and comment on this particular issue. Yeah, let me know once you have done. I will refresh it to show more details on whoever has communicated. Currently these communications are done by email, WhatsApp, and phone calls. You did not do that. You could do it directly on the portal. And the beauty here is there is a transparency of the information on the portal which is there. And even after 6 months down the line, you need to understand that why did you take that critical decision regarding that particular issue. It could be directly mentioned, or it could be directly viewed under that same issue which is there. Now, how do I understand that? For example, you see a number which is tagged to that particular issue. Now, while you're communicating on that particular issue, every communication is tagged to that particular issue directly over here, and basically, and even if after the issue is closed, you can open up that issue and understand what's the whole communication of that particular issue which is there. Has anybody commented on this? Let me check if there are fresh activities. Oh, okay. So you could see that while we were doing these things, a few of the members who were a part of these project has commented on that particular issue. They have you know information. I would request if you could, I don't know whether you're accessing it through the internet browser or through the phone, basically. You could go on, click a quick photograph and attach to this particular issue in this case. As I'm presenting it from the laptop, I will push a quick image. So that image could be lying on my phone. I could click a fresh photograph, or I've got some sample images in this case. So let us assume that I'm a design engineer and I'm on the site in this case. And let me attach a quick photograph to this. So I'll go to my files where all my documents are lying or photographs are lying, and I will attach an image to this particular project. So I've got some few images just as a sample. Okay, it's not the right image, but it is just showing you that you could upload a photograph to it. So I could see that people have started commenting, people have started adding information to it, and adding photographs to it. So you could see what documents have been attached. And the beauty here is you could also see a timestamp. Okay, when has a particular person uploaded that particular piece of information or comment to that particular plant project which is there. The other piece is as you're working on the construction site, and let's assume that you're accessing the whole same model through a mobile phone. You could also work in an offline mode. So you could download that particular piece of drawings and documents before moving on to your site, and you could push your issues on the construction site. And while you come back to the office, or while you are in a location where you have got access to the network, uh, you know, you could see that this information directly gets uploaded on the cloud basically, and it keeps a transparency of that whole information. Let us see, there are some more updates which has happened to that particular. So as we saw that I added team members, these team members started commenting on that particular project. They've started adding information to it. So what happens is, like, now for example, let's assume that these team members from the ABC manufacturing company has answered that particular issue. What I could do is, like, I can see that that issue has been sorted out, and what I could do is, like, I could come and quickly close that particular issue. So let me come down to that issue. Yeah, and I could say that as the ABC team has answered it, and I could say the issue has been answered and rectified. Okay, so here I could add this, and that's updated. And if I want, I can close that particular issue, and you could see that whatever status is I changed, that has been also rectified, and you could make it as closed, for example. Yeah, so now that particular issue, the issue has been sorted out by the equipment manufacturer, and it is closed. Okay, so now it's done. Okay, so now my issue number 9 remains closed in this case. Now, while we are communicating and collaborating, we saw that how we could create quick markups, how we could create quick issues, how we could do a version comparison, how we could upload different kinds of documents. Now I close this particular piece of information. Now, whatever issues which I create on any of my project, any of my documents, any of the drawings, all this gets listed into the issue section over here. So that's my issue dashboard, where I can see all the issues which are a part of my project. Now, currently, you do not see all the issues. Let me filter out that issue. So for example, I want to close my filtering, and I say that whatever issues have occurred in this particular project, I want all of those listed basically. So for example, this is the issue which we closed, and you could see all the attached documents to it, all the activity which has happened in. And for example, as you are a design head, you want to extract a quick report, for example. So I say I want to generate a PDF report. I could select a single issue and do it, or I can create a report for the whole of the project basically. So this is how I could do it. Now this is one way of doing it. I can also do a custom scheduling of the report. Now once the report is generated, I'll get an email in my inbox. So let me open up my Outlook as well, and let's wait while this particular email comes down to my inbox in this case. Yeah, and while my Outlook is opening up, let's see what has happened on my BIM 360 project, what kind of notifications have come in, and let's wait for the notifications to appear in my inbox. And once it comes, I'll show you what happens basically. Now let's go to something different. Now, for example, you're transmitting this kind of information. Now, as a design team, we have a habit of transmitting information basically. The transmitting of information can happen between different stakeholders. It could be between the design team, from the design team to the equipment manufacturer, design to the construction team, which is there, and etc. Everyone is performing on the part of my project. Now, for example, while I was creating this issue, you see these notifications coming on my inbox. Like people were trying to upload projects, people were trying to comment on these issues which are there basically. So all these notifications as a part of my project directly comes down to the assigned project over here, or it sends you notifications basically. And at any point of time, I can click on this issue and go to that particular piece of information on the cloud. And let's wait for our reports to also appear as soon as it is generated to come down to our inbox in this case basically. Now let's talk about transmitting information. And I said transmitting of the information can happen between various stakeholders. How do you transmit this information? Let me see if my colleagues like Naveen has uploaded certain things. I don't see any files uploaded, but I will take up sample files and transmit. For example, I want to send the PNID information, like I want a plant model to be transmitted. So I can select that particular document. And what I could do is like, I could, create a transmittal. So this last icon is nothing but your transmittal. Create a transmittal. For example, if you want more documents to be added to this transmittal, you could add those information. Yeah. And you could currently go on with a lot of other files which forms a part of your project. Say that these are the transmittals number 1. Yeah. Say the recipients. For example, I can assign an individual user, I can assign a role, and I can assign a company as well. So what I could do is like, let me see number of people. Let me assign it to Naveen, Manikandan, Atul Kumar, and let me send this via transmittals mails basically. So all of these guys who have volunteered as a part of the BIM 360 project will receive a note that this is the first transmittal for whatever you push on your email inbox for area 1, for example. And then what you could do is like, you could just say send this. Now you might be typing all these things in your email Outlook chat, then you might be doing attachments to it basically. Sometimes what happens is that attachments are so huge that it gets lost. People are not people say that they have not received that particular email which is there in etc. So a lot of these things happening. Now as soon as I create this transmittal, it is automatically sent from the same portal which is there in. And as soon as I send this transmittal, it gets highlighted in my transmittal mode which is there in. Now people who have volunteered for this transmittal, for example, all these volunteers, like the people who formed a part of my project, will get a notification, and you could also see a status. For example, when did they receive and when has it come in their inbox, for example. You see this? So this history will start getting updated, and no one can say that they haven't they received an email from or they haven't received a design document basically. So it is that transparent, and it has got a information track to it exactly over here. Now what these guys could do is like, they can come over here, visualize each of the documents basically, and this email comes like this. For example, I also created a transmittal and sent it to me as well in basically. So what you could do is like, this is how you will receive the transmittal. And I believe people who have formed a part of my project have also received this particular notification as a part of this particular session. Meanwhile, I also created a report. I created an issue report a few minutes back. So I could download that report, and that has come down into my inbox, and that keeps a history of all the issues which is formed a part of my project which is there. So let me open up that. Yeah, so that's my issue report. There are total 9 issue items which are there. You could see all the items are tagged by an issue number. If you want more details, like every issue with more details, there is a different report which could get attached with all the photographs which are there in this. So the content which says what are the titles of that issue. For example, it also shows that a particular issue has not been replied and it is overdue by a particular time and a date which is there basically. So it's very, very transparent, and this report could be automated. If you want more detailed and designed out report, you could also do these developments of these templates via Forge as well in this. So that was a copy of a report. Now I could talk about something like a digital workflow which is there. Now, as currently under the lockdown situation, we are all working from home in this case basically, and we are not submitting hard copies of the document. We are all doing it in soft copies basically. And how do you do these digital reviews in this case basically? So for example, people who are accessing my project and want to test this out, for example, if you go to project admin, basically, you could set up an approval workflow at the background. Now, with this approval workflow, for example, if I come down to my review piece, which is there, I could create an approval workflow over here. I could say that I want a two-step approval, and I could say this is between Autodesk and the ABC company. This could be n number of approval system, and I could say that I am the initiator of the document. Yeah, and I could say that it should be approved in 1 day. I think first approver I'll make Rakesh Fikre. I believe Rakesh, you're there in the session, so try to open up that review and approve that. The next is I'll assign it to Naveen Kumar, for example, and I am setting a workflow over here. And what I could do is like approval process between like this. I can create n number of workflows between ABC and Autodesk, for example. Now I'll save this. I've created a workflow. Now, how do I send documents for workflow? For example, I want to send this for approvals. I want to send a plant 3D model for approval. So for example, I've got my 3D models. So I could say that I have to submit it for review. So I'm submitting a 3D model for review. If you want to add more documents to it, so for example, I've got PNID drawings. So let me add those PNID drawings over here. Yeah. So I am adding all these documents for approval. I'm selecting the approval workflow between Autodesk and ABC. And I will say that Rakesh and Naveen from ABC, for example, can request you to approve these documents. Yeah. So now I am transmitting this message from here. I'm believing that particular people who are as a part of this approval process are, notified. And in case if I want to notify Manikandan, I want to notify Atul Kumar, who is a part of this session, Vijay Raghavan, etc. of this particular, approval, I could push a notification to them. So as soon as the document gets approved, they could see it in the system. Now, review also has got a dashboard. So every approval can be seen in the review dashboard over here. So for example, Marikandan and Rakesh, what you could do is like, I have already transmitted you the information and you might have received the email notification. So Rakesh, come down to something called a start review and start up reviewing the document. And as soon as this guy reviews the document, I will get an approval over here. Rakesh, just start the review process and let me know once you have, approved that particular document. While these guys are approving the documents, what we could do is like, we could see something different in this case, basically. So I think Praveen Kumar has started up the initial review. And they are updating their comments, etc. So while they are doing it, Praveen, once you're done, just release the task and let us know that you've completed that particular issue via the comments basically. Okay. Now these guys are pushing the approval. I'll show what happens on the approval process as they're all doing it live. What we could do is like, we could go something into the dashboard piece of it. So we have also got a dashboard, like I uploaded documents, I commented on it, I created an issue, I created transmittals, I created reviews, etc. So all these information appears on my Insight dashboard basically. So for example, I've got a lot of cards over here and I could customize my dashboard. So for example, I want the issues, so I could get this card added. Yeah. So this will get my issues updated. Let me have some approval workflows. Let me see, there's something on the review piece of it. So let me see how many of them have approved that documents. I could talk about design review risk factors, get these cards added. So this is basically a single line portal. For example, you could see that 2 documentation has been completed. There are 7 issues which are overdue. There are no issues which are belonging to code compliance, for example, because we have closed that particular issue. And what you could do is like you could customize your dashboard in this particular manner. Now, as you start pushing more and more issues, uh, it gets updated. And for example, even in the card library, I've got something for design issues. I could see, for example, this card, which talks about how many issues are opened by an organization. Yeah, so as soon as our approvals get happen, the dashboard gets updated, which is there basically. Meanwhile, what you could also do is like there are different dashboards maintained for project controls. There's something called as report libraries where you will see all the reports being posted over here in this case. So I believe my team has done the approval, and let me go to that particular approval system. Now we created one particular report, so that particular report is lying over here. And similarly, you could create more reports in the Insight dashboard. Let's see what has happened to our approval workflow which are therein. And let me reload, for example. Yeah, so Naveen Kumar, who has reviewed my particular document, he's saying that that particular document has gone into void status. And you could also see that the respective people who approve the documents, they've submitted from one reviewer to the other review, and the final approver, that is Naveen Kumar, had said that the whole document gets void in this case. Now what you could do is like you could also export a small report in a PDF format. Now I am just talking it with 3 documents, and you could see the documents as well in a Excel sheet in this case. So that's a report. So I've sent 3 documents for approval, and like you could see that these guys have not added comments, but you know the final status, once the approval is complete, all their comments and reviews will appear in this particular section basically. So they just changed the status, but they've not pushed any comments, no issues. And if they haven't done it, I have the option of also exporting this report. But as transmittal or as this approval documents have become file, I don't have a process of reopening that particular approval system which is there in basically. Now this is all about the document management piece on BIM 360. We saw a lot of things live. People who have got access to it, please upload all set of documents and see how you could access BIM 360 in this. I'll come down to my presentation once again, which I was talking about, and I'll tell you why do you need to use BIM 360. We saw features on approvals, we saw features on transmittals, we saw a lot of information which is there. The first thing is that as it works on a browser, it could be connected via any device, anywhere and anytime. It's quite secure, so anybody wants to evaluate BIM 360, please drop down a message in the chat window. Our team will get in touch with you, and in case if you want to have more information on the security piece, on the IT aspects on BIM 360, we will be sharing, we can share those certifications with you, and we could do these trials live exactly. The other piece is integrated, and it is more data driven. It is not only drawings and designs, it's just markups and issues, but what is the information which gets retrieved from all those issue management markups, collaboration during our discussion. As I said, you could visualize it through any device. As I said, it could work on iPad, iOS, mobile phones, Windows, Android devices, and you could use it as a collaboration tool between different teams, basically. Today, I have not spoken about collaboration with Revit and Plant 3D. In the next session, we'll do this collaboration live on Revit and Plant 3D as well in the part 2 series, basically. Secure, you could give access levels and controls. You could decide on what access and controls are you giving it to that respective users. And if you want to understand more about the security aspect, you could go to this portal and learn more about it, basically. We are also integrated with a lot of third-party apps. And if you want to understand more about it, just go to a page called BIM 360 integrations in order to learn more about the third-party integrations with BIM 360. The next piece is, as I said, dashboard. Our dashboard was having a very lesser information, but these are images which are coming in from customers. Like, as I said, it could be any project. You could see the insights, the number of RFIs open, issues open, which contractor has committed, which contractor is due with that particular design aspect, whether he is matching the quality standards or not. That could be checked on the data-driven piece which is there. And this is how exactly a project home or an analytic page of BIM 360 could look in. So for example, your stakeholders can have a 360 view of your complete project on the portal, whichever tool they are using in, whichever app they're using on, whatever device they are trying to use in BIM 360 in this case. You could have a nice photograph of your construction site. You could have the latest weather feeds which are there in, how many issues are waiting with respect to design compliance which is there in. And you can also monitor your subcontractors and contractors. We also talked about, pushing on card libraries, where we could have a lot of card libraries coming on the inside dashboard. For example, this is one of the example coming in from Smart Bid. For example, there's an app called a Smart Bid which works with BIM 360. And what SmartFit does is, like, it captures the information from your CCTV cameras on the construction site that could be integrated with BIM 360, and it could show you the live progress on your construction site which is there. For example, the labors were compromising on quality, safety, etc. could be all seen over here in basically. I also talked about reports. Now, for example, we also could have a detailed report. I showed you a small format of a report, but you want a report with detailed photographs attached to it, etc. All these reports could be scheduled inside BIM 360 in this case. We are at the end of our presentation. We've got a lot of customers already using BIM 360. One of them being so as I said, one of them being Hill Consultants in this case. And what they've done is, like, they are using different modules of BIM 360, like BIM 360 field, point layout, docs on their project. And currently, they could handle their changes by the superintendent could do it in 30 seconds, for example, between the design office and the construction site. They exactly save 2 hours per day, so that the superintendent did not come to the office. They can access this information on the mobile devices, and they could collaborate, communicate without using or spending a lot of pieces of papers which are therein. And the other pieces, like even the laser scanned information, could also come on the BIM 360 portal in this case. The other one is Skanska, who are using almost BIM 360 for 146 of their projects. They've gone totally digital. They are not using any paper documents which are there. And most of the contractors have adopted BIM 360 technology as a part of the project being handled by Skanska in this case. The other example is of Balfour Beatty, where today we have not spoken about coordination clashes. We have spoken about version issue management. We have spoken about how do we communicate between different issues. So those could be all communicated on the BIM 360 portal, basically. And today we just talked about one particular piece of BIM 360, that is design. And in our next session, we'll be talking about the second piece of collaborating via the Revit and Plant 3D on BIM 360 in this case, basically. These are how the different products of BIM 360 looks like. As I said, we only spoke about docs. In our next section, docs is a part of design. We'll talk about the next piece of the workflow, integrating with BIM 360 design in this case. So thanks for joining this session. And what you could do is like, you could post all your questions in the chat window. And meanwhile, you will see that there are a lot of survey questions appearing on your screen as well. But whoever wants to ask any queries, please post your questions on the chat window. As well as meanwhile, take a note of our next work from home series presentation, especially collaboration with plant projects uh, on BIM 360 design in this case, and do register for that particular session as well. Okay, so for example, I have got a lot of questions coming in, and what you could do is like their question asking any trial version in BIM 360. Naveen, the answer to you is just go on to Google or type BIM 360 extended access program. You could register for the trials for your organization, or you could get in touch with us in this case, and we will share more detail. My email ID is on the screen, and if you want to push down a one-to-one email to me, you could do that right now, and do write an email to me and I can help you out with the trials basically. Do we require free trial for mobile phones? There is no free trial required for mobile phones. Once you try to access BIM 360, you could just install the BIM 360 app, and on the BIM 360 app, you could use the same email ID which you use for logging in on the browser, and you could just paste the same password. BIM 360 app on the mobile phone will try to work for you in this case. There's a person asking me a question that how do you convert JPG files into AutoCAD DWG? We cannot convert JPG file into AutoCAD DWG on BIM 360. Preferably, what you could do is like you could use AutoCAD raster design, which is a part of one AutoCAD, and raster design can help you convert information into raster to vector on AutoCAD basically, and then that could be uploaded on BIM 360 in this case basically. Naitik, if you do not know anything about raster, please do write an email to us, and our team will help us out in replying back to your query further by sharing a link. Any more questions? Please post your queries. So I believe there are not too many questions. Please take a note of my email ID and do write a one-on-one mail to me in case if you've got any queries. Thanks for attending today's session. I could see some hand raises. Okay. Yeah. Please post your questions if you have any queries, because in case if you don't have anything, I'll just close the session basically. Okay, thanks everybody. Thanks for joining today's session.